Hi there, I'm Claudia Lash and I am into this cube something. Today I'm going to show you perhaps the most time-consuming part of the whole quilt process on this type of quilt. I've already sewn my blocks into half cubes, and then I sewed the half cubes into long columns. Here's an example. From here to the bottom, half cubes are sewn into long columns. The next step is to sew the columns together. And I did that on these two. Here's two together, here's another pair together. And they're not difficult to do, but you do have to do a little pinning, and you have to be a little bit careful with your sewing. This is not one of those things where you're gonna zip right through. So I thought I would show you today how I pin and sew these half cubes strips together and press them so that they will be a nice pair. Okay, here are the two columns that we're going to sew together. And you notice I'm going to lay them right sides together. And then I don't usually start right at the very top. And I do have a mess of pins here. Instead, these 2 points are kind of going to be a help to me. And then I'm going to peel that back, and if those seams are matching and where the point is in the middle, I am going to put a pin right through there, right there. And it looks like it's coming at the other side in the same place. So the way I pin for something like this is I put one pin right there, and then I put another pin right next door to it, just right to the right side. Because as it goes through the sewing machine, I can still see this spot where I want them to meet, and I can take this pin out and it won't be in the way. All right, now I'm going to go to here and I'm going to put a pin right where those two match, and right here where these two match, and then again up here. Right there. So I've got 4 pins in one section. Now some of them don't take as much time. I'm going to go to the next section. Put a pin right where, on this one it looks a little bit differently, but I think I can still see where the 1/4 inch is. And sometimes you can even pull back one. If you've got, especially if you've got some seams in there. I'm going to pull that back. That's in the right spot. It looks like over here I can scoot him over a little bit and stick the pin in there. So we have that pinned. I'll put a second one to the side of it. And then there is nothing to worry about here. So sometimes I just put a pin in the middle, just to hold it down. And that's the way I'm going to go ahead and pin this whole long strip. And I told you, it's not going to be a fast job, but it will keep them together until you sew them. And when you sew them, I didn't go lickety-split. I took my time, sewed down, and then when I get to the end, we'll flip it over and we'll cut some things and we'll press. Okay, my column is sewn, and the first thing I do when I take it away from the sewing machine is I go back and just really quick look to see if my things are coming at the right spot. And if they are, grand. If they're not, I go back. I go to wherever I was. I have a handy little tool, and I use it frequently. And I might take out a spot and then stitch again, or, back stitch and try to stitch again to make sure it's working fine. Anyway, looks okay now. So before I go to the ironing board, I found these little boogers need to be clipped off. So I do that first. And when I start and stop with a knot or a back stitch or something, because I don't want these coming undone as they are manipulated around some way. Clip these, and then you can go to your ironing board and very carefully I press the seams open. I know this takes a little bit of time, but it's what you have to do. So I'm going to go press these, and I'll show them to you one quick time. And it does take a little time to pull these seams open, but it really makes the quilt lay a little bit flatter. All right, so let's see how this does. Okay, here's the pressing. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. It does take some time. You have to use your fingers to get them apart a little bit, and then just use a nice hot iron to press them open. And then I'm going to put them back up on my design wall and do the next pair. I've gotten the ironing finished, and so now this is the one we just did. All pressed. I press it on the back, and I don't press on the front. So now I have 1, 2, 3. I will sew these two together, make a pair, these two to make a pair, and these two to make a pair, and then start sewing pairs together in the exact same way. It takes a little time. You may have to use that handy little friend, the seam ripper. You do have to trim the bulk out of the seams before you press them open. But when it's finished and somebody's standing back, they're not going to see if you make a little tiny mistake anyway. So that's how we sew the columns together. Have a fun time.